Las Vegas. What happened? You just lost to the St. Louis Blues and Blues fans everywhere. I know the excitement is real because Jordan Binghamton looked like his 2019 form. I'm going to talk about this coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues. Here, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I know, I'm a little excited. Maybe it's because the Blues got lucky. Maybe it's because the house money wasn't won. Either way, it is because the St. Louis Blues defeated those Las Vegas Golden Knights 2-1. 2-1. The 37-point Las Vegas Golden Knights just got beat by the St. Louis Blues, who are the most inconsistent team in the NHL. But you know what? A win is a win, and I will take it. I honestly have to tell you, the St. Louis Blues are one of those teams that will always surprise you. So I'm going to talk about the Golden Knights lost to the Blues. I just like saying that. It's so funny. The Blues' luck in big games. Get it? And break the pattern tomorrow night, St. Louis. This is your opportunity to do so. I'm just really excited, to be honest. I'm also excited to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your purchase. I have to say, I did not expect the Blues to win. And that's not because, oh, Haley, you're so negative. It's because I did not expect the St. Louis Blues to defeat the Golden Knights that went like 11-0 in the first set of games this season. Or the fact that they're the defending Stanley Cup champions. The fact that they have literally 37 points going into this game. Did I think to myself, yeah, the Blues have a really good chance? No, I did not. But the Blues really showed up last night in Las Vegas. Robert Thomas's whole family was at that game, so that was nice to see. But it was a late night game. So immediately after the game, for those that don't know, I have to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and I take like a nap in the middle of the day. So I napped. I watched some hockey. Towards the end of the game, I'm like falling asleep, and I'm like, okay, I just will react tomorrow. But I was buzzing. Like I kept on tossing and turning in bed. I could not fall asleep. That was some of the best hockey I've seen out of Jordan Binghamton in such a long time. But needless to say, it was a big win for the Blues. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's so great, to be honest. I'm buzzing. So Alexei Torchenko scores with about 20 seconds left in the first period. Colton Parayko and Oscar Sundqvist with the assist. So St. Louis led 1-0 after the first. Second period, it was a little bit more chippy. Okay. Third period, unfortunately, Jack Eichel on the power play got a goal. Former captain, I know, Alex Pietrangelo with the assist and Jonathan Marchessault. So it was 1-1. They went to overtime. I was thinking to myself, Haley, you're tired. Please do not let this be a Golden Knights win. I was like, you held on this long. You took them to OT. Please don't blow it. Well, that's fine because Pavel Buchnevich, only 38 seconds in, got his 38th goal. 38 seconds in, got his 9th goal of the season with an assist from Robert Thomas, and his whole family was there, by the way, which I did mention, and Colton Parayko, and the Blues won 2-1. Let's go. And I have to say, this was probably the most satisfying win I have ever seen, especially when it comes to my Blues. I love St. Louis. I love this team. And I know that this season, it's been very frustrating to say the least. I know that this team has been wildly inconsistent. Fine, fair, agreed. But on the other hand, when a win like this happens, it gives me goosebumps. It just really goes to show that there is so much potential and hope for this team. And I know what you're thinking. Haley, are you getting too excited again? Yes, I am. But it was just so satisfying. And seeing the disappointment on all of the Golden Knights' faces really got me going because they looked so done. Logan Thompson was in net. They put their backup goalie in, and the Blues took care of business. They probably thought, oh, it's going to be an easy win against St. Louis. Well, it wasn't an easy win against St. Louis because Pavel Buchnevich was able to get that goal and gave the Blues a win. And unfortunately, the Golden Knights do come out with 1 point, but the Blues were still dominant, and I'm proud of them. That's my team. Jordan Binghamton, on the other hand, he had 33 saves last night. Obviously, one went in, so it was 34 total. And he was on fire. I saw so many of these infuriating Golden Knights fans saying, oh, the refs were on his side, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, honestly, he played a great game. He was focused. I've never seen Bennington look that good. And I was really proud of him. So that is my goalie forever will defend Binner. But wow. Wow. What a game. What a game for the St. Louis Blues. And by the way, the Blues are 12-0 when they're the first team to score. So, like, we kind of knew after the first period that they were going to win, right? Something like that. No, but in all seriousness, um, this team has my heart. And after the game, Coach Berube spoke and said, we feel real good when we score first, that's for sure. We haven't done a great job when we haven't scored first so far this year, but that's something that we need to improve on and correct. And we have the lead. We play with confidence. So I agree that Coach Berube is literally basically reiterating everything that I have said. Yeah, man, it was just awesome. It was just really awesome. Bennington even said after the game, it's a fun atmosphere to play, and I enjoy it going against a team like that. I will say, I actually was out in Vegas, and I have a big announcement coming up. I was out in Vegas in October, and I saw a game down there at T-Mobile. And it is such a fun atmosphere, despite the fact that I think most of their fans are bandwagons. I know that there's a lot of fans that are actually from Vegas, and that's their team. But anyways, I'm not like dissing on the Golden Knights. I like the guys that do Locked On Golden Knights. I'm just saying that personally, I just think it's a fun hockey atmosphere out there in Vegas. It's like a show. It's really unexpected, right? But it is cool because the players of opposing teams always have such a great time when they're out in Vegas. And as somebody that doesn't have any feelings at all towards Vegas, when I was out there, I'm like, okay, this is fun. As I said, I do have an announcement coming up soon in the last bit of today's show, so stay tuned. It's a huge announcement, probably my biggest announcement I've ever made here in Locked On Blues, so get ready for that. Anywho, Binnington also said they're a competitive group and they played the right way and they played hard. So I think we did a good job stepping up tonight and getting that win. And I think overall, Binnington was the most impressive for me. And Vegas coach Bruce Cassidy, who was formerly the Bruins coach, okay? That's my little fun fact. He said, good for Binnington. He played well. He's the reason why they got 2 points and we got 1. Binnington was on fire, but I have so much respect for Bruce Cassidy as a coach. He's been around this league for such a long time. And the fact that he's able to acknowledge Binnington and being able to say, you know what? This is why the Blues won. It's because he is a star. It really just goes to show that Binnington gained a lot of respect, not just last night, but in general. Berube also said, I don't get why we're so good on the penalty kill, especially on the road with the penalty kill and not so much at home. And, I think that's actually kind of funny because it's so accurate. Like when the Blues are on the road, they actually play a much better game on the PK. But at home, it's like the PK doesn't even exist. The Blues' power play, I will say, it does need improvements. But they can compensate for having a good PK. It's either a good PK or good power play. You don't get both in the same night with the St. Louis Blues. And that is something I have learned the hard way, the painful way, and the frustrating way. There's a lot of frustration that goes into this sometimes, but we still beat the Golden Knights, and I'm really happy still. Like, obviously, I'm happy. Okay. You know what else makes me happy? It is Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win in the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you could do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match assessments and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's US data shows 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed matches your job description the moment they sponsor a job. Indeed knows when you're growing your business, you have to make every dollar count. And that's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need a hire? You need Indeed. Indeed, you do. I really just wanted to say that. The Blues, for some reason, I know I'm using the word luck, and I don't think it's real luck. I think it's just a fluky thing. I just wanted to make any Golden Knights fans that are watching this upset. I am just so ecstatic. That was such a great win. But the Blues, they end up winning some really big games. And I don't understand this team sometimes. I love the Blues. Love the Blues more than anything. Like, I'm a ride or die for my Blues. But the games that they sometimes win, like they defeated the Devils. Okay, Haley, the Devils are not as good as this season. It's still a team that people said was a cup contending team. They defeated the Avalanche 8-2 when they got two Hatties in that game. That was a great game. They defeated the Lightning 5-0. Well, I guess those teams. Okay, they've defeated a handful of good teams. The Flames, I mean, now I'm rethinking my entire life. I mean, the Flames are all right. They're not like bad, but they're not okay. The Blues defeated like three good teams. That is surprising, but whenever they defeat those teams, they always play very well. So it's just one of those things where I am just uberly impressed with the St. Louis Blues and what they've been doing. Obviously, some of the losses that they have had are really bad, like really bad. But right now, my main focus is this. My focus is, can the Blues maintain consistency? I know that it's exciting when the Blues beat a really good team like the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. But are they able to maintain that consistency maybe against teams that are not as good? Or maybe teams that are average, or teams that are good. You know what I'm saying? Because it just seems like whenever they play the best of the best teams, which they haven't played that many this season so far, but from the teams that they do play a much better game. When it seems they're more average, they're kind of flat. And then when it's a team that's a little bit below average, they look like trash. They play down and they play up to the teams that they've played, I've noticed. And maybe that doesn't make sense, but to me, especially as a fan, I am 100% noticing how they're playing, and it makes sense. They play against a team like Vegas. They are on their A+ game. They play against a team like the San Jose Sharks, which is probably their worst loss. Well, one of their worst losses. And they play down. I think that this team needs to just find consistency. They need to find that average consistency. They need to go with it and play the same way with all their different teams. Obviously, there are certain teams that you're going to play a little bit harder with. But the moment the Blues begin to underestimate a team, because I've seen this with the Coyotes, I've seen this with the Sharks, okay? I have seen this way too many times before. I mean, heck, I could go on and say I've seen this with the Kings. I've seen this with the Jets. I've seen this with the Wild. I've seen this with the Nashville Predators. I see this team that is so hot when it's against really good teams in the NHL. And then as soon as they play teams that are a little bit below, they don't show up. That was me showing that they don't show up. So it's a pattern that I've noticed. But obviously, in a big game like this, I am super impressed. And I know that the Blues are hosting the Golden Knights tomorrow at Enterprise. Do I think that the Blues are going to win? I don't know. It's really hard to say. They're such an inconsistent team that a part of me after, Monday's win, I'm like, "Oh yeah, they definitely will win." And now I'm like, it's the Blues. Do we ever really think that this team is going to win or this team is going to lose? They always confuse us. And I'm curious to what you think. See, because of my excitement, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, they could beat the Golden Knights off to the cup. But in reality, I'm like, oh, they could really lose badly. But again, you never know. What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas, but what happens in Enterprise stays in Enterprise. I'm just happy. That was a win. A win and a win and a win. And the Blues social media team cracked me up. They played Bush's goal on the sphere. They edited it in. Obviously, they didn't buy, rights to the sphere. But that was funny to see. Huge announcement right after I talked to you about my friends at Gametime. And by a huge announcement, I mean probably one of the biggest things I've ever done for this podcast. Okay, sometimes when I'm buying tickets, I get a little bit edgy. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get ripped off. I want good seats. Where will I be sitting? Well, with Gametime, you can get killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So you can get last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, and so many more. You get views from all seats in the venue and the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection, and so much more. So they really make it really, really easy for you to buy your tickets. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can, as I said, see the view from where you're sitting. So for me, that's the most important. I'm short. I'm only 5'2". So if I'm sitting down in a seat that's a couple rows back, I'm like, okay, I may not be able to see. Gametime shows me if I'm going to be able to see or not. So that's why they are my day ones. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. I have an announcement. I have a huge announcement. But before I get into that announcement, I know I said I was going to do after this really fast. The Blues need to break their pattern, okay? This all started when they played the Yotes a couple games back. And yeah, it's their win-loss pattern. So what does that mean? The Blues defeated the Coyotes and won against them 6-5. They lost against the Preds. They defeated the Blackhawks. They lost against the Wild. They defeated the Sabres. They lost against the Coyotes. And they defeated the Golden Knights. So this is 7 games in a row now with this pattern. Am I surprised? No. But it is something I want to point out because you might be wondering, Haley, why do you always talk about this pattern? Well, 7 games throughout the course of a couple weeks, that is quite a long time to have a win-loss, win-loss, win-loss pattern. For me, it just doesn't make sense. And it's something I want to point out because this team, it's like a seesaw. You know what a seesaw is? I feel like sometimes when I say things, maybe people don't know what it is. It's like the thing at the gym that goes, duh. Okay, that's not like a good example, but it's a gym equipment thing for kids. That's how the Blues remind me right now. It's like, woo, ooh, woo. Like, It's not consistent. That was some bad analogies. If you were on YouTube and you saw what I was doing with my hands, I apologize. If you were listening and you had to hear those noises, I apologize. But the pattern needs to be stopped. So if the Blues lose tomorrow night, the pattern will continue. If they win, the pattern will end. So that's why I am hoping for a St. Louis Blues victory over those Las Vegas Golden Knights. So that way the pattern stops and the Blues get 4 out of 4 points against the Golden Knights. You're ready for my announcement now. Okay. I am so sorry to announce. No, I'm joking. I had to make a decision, though. A decision about this hockey season, and a decision that it was a tough decision, honestly, to make. And I'm not even like being dramatic when I say that. So I obviously don't live in St. Louis. I live somewhere else, but I'm a Blues fan. So this podcast is awesome because it allows me to talk about my favorite team in the NHL. And I've met so many amazing people that actually live in the area that I live in that are also Blues fans. And I try to head out to St. Louis, but sometimes it's a little expensive. It's not that easy to get to St. Louis from where I'm from. And it got announced today that the NHL draft would be taking place in Las Vegas. I had to make a decision. Do I go to St. Louis to cover just a regular season game, or do I go to the NHL draft? I did not choose going to St. Louis for one of the regular season games because when the Blues come to the East Coast, I will be able to be credentialed and to cover the Blues throughout the course of their time here on the East. So I will be getting that exclusive coverage, but I did buy my plane ticket and my hotel, so I will be attending the draft. And what does that exactly mean? Well, that means that when the Blues make their suggestions, I will be able to have exclusive coverage of the draft. I will be talking to the prospects and getting exclusive content for Locked On Blues. The draft is a huge part of summer. And last summer when I joined the Locked On Podcast Network, I began in June after we went. No, it was 2 days before we went Blues Day when it was the anniversary of the Blues winning the Cup. And for a big part of my first time doing this podcast, it was a lot of draft coverage, prospect coverage leading up to the draft. It was a lot of post-draft coverage. And I thought the summer can sometimes be slow in the NHL. And I want to be able to get content for you as my listener that could last you a lot longer than just me getting one post-game interview. Prospects are a big part of this organization right now. Obviously, Dvorsky has me extremely excited, and he's been killing it. As I said, I'm going to do a whole episode on our prospects and how they're doing, and of course, the Thunderbirds. But when I was thinking about ways to benefit this podcast, to benefit your listening experience, I thought it'd be really cool to talk to different people, different Blues writers that will be there, to be able to talk, obviously, the prospects, maybe even Coach Berube. I want to get as much coverage as possible. So, yeah, was it a lot of money? Sure, yeah, it was. Am I looking at my bank statement? No. But am I looking at the future of this podcast? Absolutely. So I will be heading out to Las Vegas officially to cover the 2024 NHL draft. It is, well, I'm going to go a couple days early. So for me, it's like 204 days away, while away. But this was something that I really wanted to do. And it's an investment for myself because it's always been a dream of mine. It's in Las Vegas. So this will be my second time in a year going back. And it's going to be in the Sphere, which will be really cool. But I'm excited and I cannot wait, especially for you. I want you to be able to get exclusive information, exclusive content, because sometimes the NHL national media doesn't do enough for St. Louis. And that was just one thing that bothered me a lot last season. So I'm going to bring all of the content to you. All right. Well, on that note, let's go Blues, and I will talk to you tomorrow.